The votes have been counted, the data's been verified, the finalists have been decided. Welcome to the very first Stadia Community Game Awards 2021. Let's get on with the show. Yokoso, 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 yes, yes, yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome one and all. How are you? I am, of course, Clive Illenden, and I'm going to be your host tonight, along with the wonderful John Scars here, as we welcome you to the Stadia Community Game Awards 2021. Welcome, John.
Oh, thank you, Clive. I really appreciate you inviting me on here to help co-host the awards. I've been looking forward to it over the last couple of days. Super excited.
That's absolutely fab. And it looks like we've got a lot of people in chat as well. And I tell you what a show we have got for you today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I really, really do.
Oh boy, we asked the Stadia community about their favorite games, and Clive, the Stadia community responded by the hundreds.
Yep, they did.
So a big, massive thank you for everybody that helped participate in the show.
Absolutely.
Voting.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see so many people taking part. I feel we have a real sense of what people have liked this year from Stadia in terms of games. There are 13 awards up for grabs tonight. So it's going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be interesting.
Yeah, with over 100 games in 2021 in all sorts of genre, big and small. Game-wise, the choice has been massive.
Yeah, I mean, it has. I mean, over 100 games. So, oh yeah, make sure you participate tonight. Oh, there is a poll, but I don't think it's telling you what the choices are. So just write, forget that poll. It's running by the looks of things, but it's just got numbers, which is really helpful. Sack the person who did the poll. Just write in the chat what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Just write in the chat what you think should be the Stadia Game of the Year. Be interesting to see. We'll get a sense if there's a sort of a common theme keep popping up and stuff like that. Of course, say hello to everybody in the chat. That's always a nice thing to do. Don't forget to hit the likes, of course, because as you know, I like it, YouTube likes it, and it helps people like you find content like this. And if you are new here, then please, arigato gozaimasu, please consider subscribing, toggle that notification bell, and then you're going to know when I go live with Stadia content like this, ladies and gentlemen.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm excited to see. You're going to keep a watch in the chat here on what everybody is interested in for their choice for Game of the Year. There's so many choices, and yeah, excited to see what people think that their favorite Game of the Year is.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the chat, whether the chat matches up with the general voting. Of course, this show, ladies and gentlemen, this show is a celebration. It's a celebration of the games on Stadia. It's all about the games in 2021. And as I mentioned, it's been a year of 100 plus games landing on Stadia with timed exclusives, massive franchises, wonderful indie games, and more family-based games. In January, we kicked off with Hitman 3. Then there was Little Nightmares 2, straight to pro. Do you remember that, chat? Do you remember that, John? Straight to pro, man.
Yeah, that was amazing. A great surprise. We also finally saw the arrival of FIFA 21, and then later FIFA 22 came to Stadia, and of course, Madden NFL 22. Fantastic games from EA.
I love FIFA 22. Not only because it plays and looks fabulous on Stadia, but because it normalized playing games on Stadia for my son. And now he's never off it now because it has the game he wants to play, FIFA 22. And it plays and looks amazing for him. So he even asked me for one of my spare Stadia Premier Editions for his mum's house so he could play, when he was there. So the year also saw massive titles like Resident Evil 7 and then Resident Evil 8 burst onto the scene. Of course, that created a lot of hype. John, did you manage to get through Resident Evil Village with a clean pair of underpants?
Well, let me tell you, Clive, I had to bring a couple of pair of trousers every time that I played because it had me jumping off my seat and, It wasn't too pretty, but I had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Resident Evil, great to see it come to Stadia day and date. It was so fantastic. And we also saw a handful of JRPGs arrive this year on Stadia with Dragon Quest 11. In March, we saw Ease 8, Ease 9, The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4 from NIS. So it was a great year for RPGs on Stadia.
Yeah, there's a lot of choice there. And then, of course, skidding on the platform was the addition of racing games like Dirt 5 and Wreckfest as well.
Yeah, we have to mention the wonderfully imaginative indie games like Wavetail, Grime, Young Souls, some of the best games this year.
Yeah, and of course, let us not forget, ladies and gentlemen, Outright Games. Bringing a welcome addition of family games to Stadia. In fact, right, haven't you played most of those Outright games?
Yeah, I indeed I have. I've played all of the Outright games, streamed them, or made videos in some fashion or another. It's just a fantastic company, Outright Games, and seeing these family-oriented games come to Stadia is just another feather in the hat for the platform. It just means more people can come and play some of the games that they enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we mustn't forget the massive AAA games that we had from Ubisoft, the much anticipated Far Cry 6, Riders Republic, of course, Rainbow Six Siege arrived with full crossplay, of course. So much to choose from, ladies and gentlemen, so much to choose from. But the question today, ladies and gentlemen, and why you're all here, right? I know it's just not to see me and, John dressed to the nines here and all that. Although we're going to start a fund for John to get him a decent shirt, ladies and gentlemen, quite frankly. But the big question was, what was the Stadia Community Game of the Year? So I put it to you in chat, ladies and gentlemen. What was your favorite game of 2021? As I said, put it in the chat and we'll get a sense of, what the chat generally thinks. Right. As I said, we have a hell of a lot to get through. It's a packed show tonight, so let's crack on. But before we go to our first category, we are some of the biggest content creators from around the world, well, Europe and North America, wherever Stadia is available, basically, what their Stadia game of 2021 is. So let's just get on and see what our first guest thinks.
Hey everybody, Lloyd Hannison from the Nerd Nest here with my favorite game on Google Stadia of 2021. This is one that is probably not a surprise if you've listened to the Stadia cast or anything. That would be Far Cry 6. I've put about 70 hours into the game, playing mostly single player, but the special operations multiplayer mode was particularly enjoyable. Played some of that with Bill and some other people. Loved the game, loved the story, and loved playing it on Google Stadia. So my favorite Stadia game of 2021 is Far Cry 6.
Well, there we go. Far Cry 6. Yeah. From Lloyd there. I think that's, a popular title there. I've seen a few Far Cry 6 in the chats there. Oh, thank you, Dave. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Yes, Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you. Much appreciated that. But yeah, so Far Cry 6, I think that's a popular choice. Okay, let's get on with the first category, ladies and gentlemen. The first category, and that is, of course, racing games. Racing Game of the Year. As I said, with the arrival of Dirt 5, Wreckfest, and albeit, I guess, as a racing game, a bit left field, but Riders Republic, the competition for this was really fierce. So let's find out some more background to how the race went from our trackside reporter, the first of our visits to the data man himself. Let's find out behind the scenes data.
Are you listening?
Welcome everyone to the Nerd Report. I'm Jack Deslip from the Numbers Show for Stadia over on Stadia Dosage. I'll be breaking down some of the interesting numbers behind the vote tallies at tonight's Stadia Community Game Awards. The first category we are going to be looking at tonight is Best Racing Game of the Year. There are 5 choices that you can see listed here. I'll note that Dirt 5 has become an important game for tracking in terms of Stadia numbers, as it has a really useful leaderboard for tracking that recently passed the 100,000 Stadia mark, and it's still growing at over 1,000 names per day. This category was actually the closest vote of the night. 3 games nearly split the vote evenly, varying from 30.7% of the vote to just 34.2% of the vote. These were 3 great games that were added to the platform. And let's hear about them from Clive and John and see who the winner is.
Well, there we go from the Nerd Report. So quite tight by all accounts there, John, really, I think, looking from the voting. There wasn't a lot to choose from ultimately, but there was those 3 dominant ones. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. Find out which racing games made the final, who stalled on the start line, and who got the checkered flag, ladies and gentlemen. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, our first winner, Stadia Racing Game of the Year 2021 goes to Wreckfest. So very, as I say, it was very tight, that one, but it is a popular one. What do you think, John? Do you think it was a popular choice?
I definitely agree. I see a lot of people in the community streaming that. And it's a great game to play along, with the members of your channel or anybody out there. It's just, get in the car and bash the heck out of all the other cars there and your opponents. Let you get your frustrations out and have a good time at the same time.
Yeah, there's a hint of it in Grid when you're waiting, aren't you, for the 40 racer games? But here you can just do it for real, and it's actually part of the game, which is really, really cool. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So next up, we're not mucking about here, shout out to Anthony and Now Your Mama Knows. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate that, sir, and all your support. Right. Next up is Stadia Ongoing Game of the Year 2021. So these are Stadia games that may not have released in 2021. They could have released in 2019, but they're the games that are ongoing, have DLC, continual play. So there could be, to say, games from December 2019, like Destiny 2, for example, right through to games from 2021 and stuff like that. You have any thoughts on this one, John?
Yeah, wow. This is another tight competition here. So many great games with lots of additional content. And that's what I love about the games, that they have this ongoing where, you do finish the game, but then you come back for it for month after month or even year after year. Awesome. I love these types of games, and they get the, a great bang for your buck.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, let's find out who the finalists are and who ultimately walks away with Stadia Ongoing Game of the Year. Wow. So Cyberpunk, I mean, it arrived in 2020 and was an absolute blessing for Stadia, despite all its sort of overall issues across all the platforms. But it was an absolute blessing for Stadia. But it seems people are still playing it big time.
I was very surprised there. I thought for sure Red Dead Redemption 2 would take the win for this one, but no. Cyberpunk comes out, and these are all votes from the community here. So you people watching here, you voted for it, and this is a great game too.
The community has spoken. But anyway,
right.
So let us know, chat, whether you agree with that. I think it's cool, and there's a roadmap as well, which is the cool thing for Cyberpunk. So there will be continued content for stuff like that. So not bad at all. All right, as I say in the chat, let us know how you feel about that. I'm happy with that. I'd be happy with that. The public have voted. Right, moving swiftly on, ladies and gentlemen. We have so much to get through. Next up here is multiplayer game of the year 2021. So multiplayer game of the year, and it's great to see more and more games in this category with crossplay. Such an important element for these games, especially on Stadia. Don't you agree, John?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And, games like Fortnite paved the way for crossplay and making it pretty much the norm for multiplayer games coming out. We still do see some that don't have crossplay, but a vast majority, thanks to Fortnite, do have crossplay and allows you to play with your friends on no matter what platform that they're on.
Okay, well, let's find out where the multiplayer action was with Stadia Multiplayer Game of the Year 2021. Well, there we go. So Rainbow Six Siege multiplayer, I must admit, it plays really well on Stadia. And I think a few PC players popped across really to play it on Stadia because it gets around the whole cheat problem. So top-notch stuff there. Much appreciated, I think, on that one. Again, in chat, let us know what you think, whether you think it is worthy of multiplayer, Stadia Multiplayer Game of the Year 2021. You know what, John? I think it's time for another guest. Quick shout out, actually. Jack Dislip just dropped a super chat. What did I say? What did I say? I didn't think the notification was going to come up.
Oh my gosh!
And I couldn't not say thank you. Could I?
Oh yeah,
but it came up. So anyway, really, really appreciate. Anyway, as I say, I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another guest, and it's all the way from Belgium this time. I told you it's global, right? And it's Rob from Bloody Good Reviews. I love that YouTube channel, Bloody Good Reviews. For Belgium, it should be in English. Like I say, that's bloody good review. A bloody good review. Anyway, BGR. So I could go off here. This is Rob from BGR and his Game of the Year.
Hello everyone, and thanks for having me on the show. I'm Bloody Good Reviews from Belgium, and I'd like to give some attention to the indie games that came to Stadia this year because frankly, it's been an amazing year for them. We have Epistory, a fun typing adventure that arrived at the beginning of the year. A little bit later, we had Avicii and Vector, hands down the best rhythm game to ever come to the platform. but my official nomination would go to Wavetale. It's a fun, exhilarating, wholesome, and inclusive adventure by Thunderful Games, and really worth checking out. I hope, as my wish for next year, that you give a lot of attention to the indies. Thanks for having me, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you, Rob. There, definitely check out Rob and BGR. Bloody good reviews. So that's YouTube. Bloody good reviews. Check it out. It's a great channel. Has a whole range of reviews, not just Stadia stuff, loads of gaming stuff. So check that out. And big thank you for Robert for doing that. Now, talking of indie games, because he was showing the love for indie games there. Next up, Bing, Stadia Indie Game of the Year. Oh, I just knocked it down there. There we are. Stadia Indie Game of the Year 2021. Now, we saw some great titles with some great award-winning, imaginative titles coming to Stadia this year. I think indie titles are a real rich source, aren't they, John?
Yeah, definitely. There's some of the most memorable moments I've had this past year in gaming. They're every bit as good as AAA, AA games, and sometimes even better. So indie games, big thumbs up from me.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, let's check out who the finalists were and who the overall winner is of Stadia Indie Game of the Year 2021. Well, there we go. Wavetale, ladies and gentlemen, is Stadia Indie Game of the Year 2021. And some great titles in there. Journey to Savage Planet, Young Souls, Little Nightmares 2. Grime just missed out of the finals there. But really some great titles. And I a lot of people really love Wavetale. I did. It's such a lovely game, so easy to play, and sort of there's some sort of nostalgic elements to it, the sort of platforming elements and stuff like that. So, yeah. What was your favorite of the sort of indie games out there?
Oh boy, that is so hard. I enjoyed quite a few, and I know we have in here. Wavetale, I loved the story on that. I loved the gameplay mechanics. Like you said, easy to pick up and play and follow. Young Souls, oh my gosh, an awesome, awesome game. And Grime. Those would be my top 3 indie games on Stadia. Wavetale, Young Souls, and Grime. All great games. And like I said, never, don't discount games just because they're indie. These games offer some of the best experiences I've had this year on any platform.
Yeah, and a lot of love for Wavetale there in the chat. So that's good to see. So, right, ladies and gentlemen, okay, it's Viva España. It's off to Spain now as we tour the world with our next guest to see which title they thought was numero uno or scotio when it comes to Stadia. Yes, we're going to go and see the Crymen.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Crimen from the Spanish Stadia community. I really hope you're having a good time. Thanks Clive for having me. And I'm here just to say what's my favorite Stadia game of 2021. A few words for my community, chicos. Espero que este 2021 haya sido un buen año para vosotros y que este 2022 sea muchísimo mejor. Y ahora sí, and now, my favorite Stadia game of 2021 is Resident Evil 8. Enjoy the show and see you in 2022. Bye!
Wow, so Resident Evil 8 there. Shout out for Resident Evil 8 there for Crymen from Spain. If you're Spanish, probably the biggest Spanish Stadia channel out there. So well worth. I've even watched it even though I don't know what they've said. But I just, they had I watched one show and they're having an amazing argument. But I knew I can't speak Spanish, but I knew exactly what they were arguing about. The same old arguments everybody sort of seems to have in the Stadia community.
Yeah.
But it was very funny to sort of hear it in a different language. So yeah, shout out to Cryman there for that. Got to say, it's a good choice. I certainly enjoyed playing that title. Yeah, in that kind of perverse way, you enjoy these things. What about you, John? You mentioned that it was a bit, pants soiling.
That's right. Yeah, lots of trousers changed, definitely, for sure. I love that we got the demo for Resident Evil 8 on Stadia, and then the midnight launch. Great game. Fantastic. If you're a fan of the Resident Evil series, definitely check it out. Top-notch game.
Yeah. Quick, before I forget, because it did pop up, but you might in chat might have seen it. The scientists for a super chat, much appreciated. Like to say thank you. If I do miss any of these super chats, etc., then do forgive me. I am producing the show live, so I might miss these things. But so much appreciated, the scientists, for that. Okay, it's next up. It's RPG time. RPG time. We saw some great RPG titles this year. Especially with the influx of the Japanese titles, the JRPGs, that seem to really light up some of the JPRG fans amongst Stadia gamers. There's a big love there for JRPGs on Stadia. I noticed when those games were announced. What was your take on the RPG titles Stadia have to offer, John?
It was great to see more Square Enix support with Dragon Quest XI on Stadia. Fantastic game. And NIS America with the Ys 8, Ys 9. Ys 9 is one of my favorite in the series there. Great story and very, very interesting characters. Big thumbs up for any JRPG fan.
Shout out to Barkley there, drowning you out with the super chat, there, John.
Oh, that's okay.
But he loved it. Hey, chat, he loved Ys 8. I could tell. Right, time for another nerd report, I think, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just see how it all went on the old RPG front.
Are you listening?
We're back at the Nerd Report to talk about RPG Game of the Year. Stadia has hosted some great RPGs in its library ever since release. Who can forget the classics? 4 Boys Go Camping in a Car? And of course, the cult classic, I have an unlimited amount of time to dedicate to a game. This year saw additional gems drop on the platform, though, with some true robust JRPGs, Square Enix masterpieces, and indie standouts like Cris Tales and Young Souls. It was a close vote, with the top 2 selections being less than a handful of percentage points apart. Who took home the prize? I don't know, but wouldn't it just make so much sense to see this guy in the cloud next year? Anyway, let's hand it back to Clive and John to announce this year's winner.
You know, I've got to be honest. Yeah, I've got to be honest, John. I'm getting seriously worried about Jack there. I'm beginning to think the New Year celebrations have started early. You know what? I mean, it's breakfast time in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Anyway, let's find out which characters ventured forth heroically to claim the grand prize, and who will triumph against the final boss fight. It's time for Stadia RPG of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Let's find out. Wow. So there we go. Stadia RPG of the year 2021, Dragon Quest 11. I'm not sure. I don't think I've played that. Have you played that one, John?
Yeah, yeah, played it, enjoyed. You literally can spend easily 100 hours, if not more, in the game. They even have like a 16-bit mode as well
Oh,
in it.
yes, I
So
remember it now. Yeah, I think I saw
yeah,
Bill streaming it. Yeah.
great
Um,
game.
yeah. Okay. So let us know in the chat. Jack saying he spent over 100 hours
Hours, yeah.
in Dragon Quest 11 this year. Wow, wowza. That's a lot of time. Yeah. These games, though, ultimately, they just suck the time from you, don't you? You think of all the combined hours of gameplay in all those games. Yeah. Now, it's time for another guest. Now, I'm a bit nervous whether our next guest is actually here, since, Jack seems to have hacked his YouTube channel. I just hope that Jack doesn't have him, tied up in his basement or anything like that. Who am I talking about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's none other, he says, than Bryant from the real, or is it, Nerf Report.
What's up, Stadia family? It's Bryant from the Nerf Report over here. I'm a little under the weather today, so please forgive me. What a crazy year it's been for gaming, especially for Stadia. We had a lot of cool games arrive on the platform. I definitely dug getting to play Little Nightmares 2. Resident Evil Village, one of the best horror games of this year. However, for me, Game of the Year from Google Stadia is a little game by the name of Young Souls. I know people who are familiar with my channel have heard me praise this game beyond end, but it's literally one of my favorite games from this year. But anyway, fantastic game. Check it out. Congratulations to all the winners of tonight's show, and thank you for letting me be a part of the first ever Stadia Awards. Super exciting night.
So there we go. I know a lot of people really loved Young Souls when it came out. It's a clever, imaginative game. What did you think of it, John?
Yeah, that's again another game that I love on Stadia here. You can have 2-player local multiplayer, or you could just play by yourself and switch back and forth between the characters. A little bit of beat 'em up action there.
Yeah,
great story.
I like the fighting.
The fighting, and like I said, very imaginative characters, creative, and the game just sucks you in. And hours later, you don't even realize that time's passed. You're just so engrossed in the game.
Absolutely. All right. So next up is Stadia Strategy or Simulation Game of the Year 2021. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Simulation stroke hash strategy game of the year. I've got to be honest with you. Not necessarily my favorite genre. Maybe I need to sort of try them a bit more. What about you, John?
Well, I like a good strategy game. You definitely have to devote your time to that. It's a game genre where when you sit down, you're not just going to dabble for 10 or 15 minutes here or there. It's something that got to put a couple hours into at least every gameplay session for me. But there's 100 Days was a great game winemaking simulator that I never thought that I would have enjoyed, but I tried it out, and sure enough, I was hooked on that. Farming simulator, Legend of Keepers, and of course, so many other great games.
Okay. Well, let's see, ladies and gentlemen, let's see which games strategized and simulated their way to the top in Stadia. Well, there we go. Humankind. It's sort of the first proper, sort of strategy, sort of simulation game. You like Civ game, and they like a civilization type
Yes.
game, isn't it? It's
Yes.
the sort of first proper one for all the PC nerds out there. Only joking. I'm not surprised really, because I know there was a big sort of hunger saying, there's a big genre of games sort of missing from Stadia. So it was good to see Humankind come along. Have you played much of Humankind?
I
The
haven't played
game,
much.
that is.
Yeah. I dabbled in it a little bit, but again, this is one I know a lot of talk around the community and hype from it for this game, and it is super involved. But this is, people that really do enjoy these types of strategy games. This is exactly what they've been looking for and waiting for. And we got touch controls too for mobile. So again, just like you, not surprised that Humankind walked away with the award.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so next, ladies and gentlemen, next up. Now, I think I think you're an expert in this category, John, as you're one of the few Stadia streamers I see who stream all these games. Of course, what I'm talking about is Stadia Family Game of the Year 2021. There we go. So you've streamed a lot of these games, haven't you? Especially from outright games.
Yeah, definitely. The family games, like I said, it's very important when you see these family games come to a platform, because they expand and broaden the horizon for no matter what platform that they come to. You can outright games. They've got games where kids as young as 2 or 3 years old, all the way up to early teens as well. And, I just like to showcase the broad variety of games that are available. Peppa Pig, my friend Peppa Pig, I did
Yes.
that is one of my most watched videos with that as well, because kids love
Massive
Peppa Pig.
IP.
So
Yeah.
massive IP, fantastic. Some people might discount it and think, oh yeah, just another family or kids game, but no, those are very big and very important for platforms.
Okay. Which toddlers and kids are going to be jumping with joy, and which of those are going to be lying on the floor, kicking their legs about in a violent strop, like some stroppy, ignorant Stadia troll on Twitter who's just been owned by Fax? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Stadia Family Game of the Year 2021. Well, there we go. Just Dance 2022. Now, that is a surprise, because I thought, it'd be like a Peppa Pig or something, something along those lines. So, you know what this means? There are a hell of a lot of secret dancers out there in the Stadia community, because this is not us choosing. This is the Stadia community
That's
choosing
right.
these titles,
Yeah.
voting for this title. So fess up. Yeah, fess up. If of course, you can't really stream Just Dance because you just get copyright strikes. But so I think a lot of people in private are doing a bit of Just Dance behind the scenes.
Well,
It
well,
might not be cool, but they're doing it.
I know of one person in particular. I see them in the chat here. Ninja Guy X, his alter ego Maurice, loves Just Dance. So I'm wondering if Maurice has something to do with this win here. No, Just Dance. It's such a popular franchise. I mean, up until just a couple of years ago, they were still putting them out on the Wii. And so it's just a massive, massive franchise there, and they just sell millions and millions each year. So kudos to Ubisoft and Just Dance 2022.
Okay. Yeah. Well done. Just Dance 2022. Okay. Time to visit another of the biggest Stadia channels in Europe. It's over to Germany to get the German take on the Stadia Game of the Year. This is getting a bit like Eurovision. You don't have Eurovision in Canada, do you? So this is just for my European friends. We're going to Germany now. Can we have the points? The points from Germany.
Hey guys, it's State of Stadia, Germany's biggest Stadia-focused YouTube channel. What a great show, big respect to you all. And what an honor for me to be part of this great event. Thanks for having me. And in a few seconds, I'll give you my prediction of Stadia's Game of the Year. But first, Grüße gehen raus an meine Community. Zwieback, Leute, ihr seid die Besten, macht weiter so. Sorry, I'm back. So what's the Stadia Game of the Year from my point of view? My favorite Stadia game of 2021 is FIFA 22. So back to the show. See you soon. Ciao.
Okay, so now look, I don't want to be accused of playing international stereotypes, but I mean, of course, State of Stadia Germany, of course it's FIFA 22 for the Germans. It's not the World Cup, you know. Although, in fairness, I could equally have said that for Belgium, Spain, Germany, England. So, but let's see, let's see whether the community agreed with State of Stadia at the end when we announced Stadia Game of the Year. I'm talking of that. It's time for Stadia Sports Game of the Year. But first, before we do that, it's time for another Nerd Report. See how the voting went for the sports category. So it's over to Nerd Report again.
Are you listening?
Welcome back to another segment of the Nerd Report. This is your host, Brian's evil stepbrother, Jack. It's time to talk about the best sports game of the year. Some heavy hitters in the Stadia library this year. Notably, the latest two incarnations of FIFA and Madden, as well as the official 2020 Olympics game, where, I may or may not dominate all competition in beach volleyball. Interesting to note that these games all have multiplayer modes with leaderboards that we can track. Madden 21 currently has the biggest set of names, while FIFA 22 Seasons leaderboard recently passed the size of the FIFA 21 Seasons leaderboard. Note that there are some slight differences in the metrics there. Turns out this was kind of the most one-sided vote of any of the awards tonight. The winner taking in over 63% of the vote, with second place at a distant 15%. Let's turn it back over to Clive and John to see who the winner is.
Okay, so Stadia Sports Game of the Year 2021. Let's see which of those titles claimed the big piece of that pie and took home the trophy, ladies and gentlemen, and walked up the winning steps. Time for Sports Game of the Year. There we go, FIFA 22. Stadia Sports Game of the Year 2021. Any surprises there for you?
Well, you know what, Clive? Soccer, football.
Thank you.
Is the world's most popular sport. So, even though I would have loved to seen NHL come to Stadia, FIFA, it's no surprise here. It's a great game, and a big kudos and thank you to EA for bringing that
Yeah.
franchise over to Stadia.
Yeah, let's hope we get FIFA 23 and Man
Yep.
23, et cetera, and all of that. Okay, so it's time, I think, for another guest. And we're going to go to the other half of Nerd Nest, see what Bill thinks is Stadia Game of the Year for him.
Hey Clive, thanks for the challenge. I don't know if I have ever summed anything up in 30 seconds in my life. Maybe it was my experience playing Resident Evil 7 with my wife. It was super scary, and we both just spent the whole time screaming our heads off. Loved that game. I also really liked when Lloyd and I went and robbed Jurassic Park in Far Cry 6. Absolutely a blast. But just for the sheer replayability of it, it has to be Hitman 3 as my favorite game on Google Stadia in 2021.
Right, well, there we go. Thank you, Bill, for that. As I say, always good to have Bill and Nerd Nest, but Hitman 3, of course, Hitman 3 was one of the first big titles, January 2021. And, oh! Just Dance. Shout out there to Marcus there for super chatted. Thank you, Marcus, for the super sticker. Much appreciated for that. But yeah, Hitman 3, what a great all titles now, because they're all sort of combined, aren't they? You get Hitman 3, you get sort of everything there.
Yeah.
And as Bill said, lots of replayability. I must admit, I had a lot of fun setting up the Hitman Challenge in the Stadia Community Championships earlier in the year. I thought it was really hard until some Hitman specialists came along and sort of knocked it out in, 4 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was nearly, with 100% perfection, I was going to be near impossible. But no, there's some real Hitman specialists out there in Stadia land, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed the Stadia Community Championships. Right, talking of killing and adventure, it's time for our next category, which of course is Action Adventure Game of the Year, ladies and gentlemen. Action Adventure. Now, these come in all shapes and sizes, from indie titles to epic AAA franchises, that we see from Ubisoft and other big publishers. So let's find out who the finalists are and who ultimately burst through the winning door to take that prize. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Action Adventure Game of the Year 2021. So there we go. Far Cry 6 is the Stadia Action Adventure Game of the Year 2021, as voted by you people, the community, the Stadia community. That game's had a lot of love. I think it was Lloyd's. Of course, Lloyd said it was his Game of the Year there, and I've noticed it get a shout out. Ray is in the chat there, loving it.
Stoked for good as well.
Yeah. Great to see that. So, right. Time for another category, I think, ladies and gentlemen. So, next up, if I go back there to our studio, there we are. Next up, a secret passion of mine, really. I quite like these platformers. I love a good story-driven action-adventure game, don't get me wrong. But ever since the days of Mario, I've been a big fan of platformers. May not be very good at them, but yeah, I'm a big fan of platformers. And there's some great platformers on offer, isn't there, John?
Yeah, we've seen some great platforming games come out to Stadia this year. Kaze, Rayman, and just a whole slew of other games. And, like you said, the platforming games are just a fun way to unwind and just relax and enjoy gaming.
Right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let us find out what Stadia Platformer of the Year 2021 is. Let's go. There we go. Rayman, John. Rayman is platform of the year. I must admit, I do love Rayman. It's a classic platformer. I think we can put it in the realms of classic platformers now. It's earned its plaudits, hasn't it?
For sure, yeah. Even though the game is several years old, it still stands the test of time. Looks great, plays great, and oodles of fun. So big shout out and kudos to Rayman.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know. Some people calling out for K's and things like that. Yeah, but people have voted. I think maybe because it's a recent title that came. I mean, I love Rayman because it's challenging enough in small bits.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can just do a bit and then go away and come back, and it's a classic platformer game. All right, so time for another category, methinks. Of course, one of the great things about Stadia is Stadia Pro.
Yes.
So what better now than to do Stadia Pro Game of the Year 2021? So what pro game offering? We have an ever-increasing library of games. If you've been a Stadia Pro subscriber since the start, that's basically a shed load of games that you've accumulated. I mean, it's such a great model because the real value grows the longer you subscribe. It's like any other submodel out there. The more you subscribe, the more you get. So let's find out more on this again from our very own Nerd Report and see what he has to say about pro game.
Are you listening?
Welcome to another segment of the Nerd Report. This time we'll be talking about the Stadia Pro Game of the Year award. This one was a tough one to vote for. So many great games came to Stadia Pro this year. Thanks to InLead, we know 57 games came free to Pro in 2021, giving a total of 118 games so far. 5 more coming tomorrow. 2021's new pro games are worth a record high $1,588 in retail value. We also hit a record 45 games being immediately available to pro subscribers this month. No less than 32 games received votes for this award, 12 of which garnered over 2% of the vote. The top 3 vote getters amassed just a plurality of 24%, 17%, and 15% of the vote, respectively. Let's turn it back over to Clive and John to find out who those were.
Yeah. Shout out there to InLead for his fabulous infographic charts. I love those little charts that InLead does. And it just goes to show as well the real diversity of the pro games to see that so many people have sort of so many different favorites in the pro selection. Really interesting. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's find out who made the final and who took the spoils in Stadia Pro Game of the Year 2021. Well, there we are, Jedi.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? I mean, I'm almost forgot about it. But then when you remember, they released this on May the 4th. Who says Stadia can't do marketing? May the 4th, they released Star Wars. May the 4th be with you. That was such a big surprise. I think I'd already
Yep.
bought it, but hey, I just love the fact that it came to Pro.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that? I mean, do you think that's a
Yeah.
good choice?
Yeah, I think so. Like the Star Wars, obviously, the Star Wars franchise is super popular worldwide, and then them bringing Jedi Fallen Order to Stadia Pro on May the 4th. It's like, how can you not love that if you're a Star Wars fan? Great
Yeah,
value, and
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
such an awesome thing to see.
It's a good game as well. It plays really well on Stadia.
Yeah.
Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our final guest. And hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, let's be serious here. You can't do a Stadia community event without arguably the biggest Stadia content creator out there, the governor. Yeah, the Stadia content creator daddy. Yes, my forecast tells me the outlook, ladies and gentlemen, the outlook is sunny.
This is actually a pretty tough question for me. Which is my favorite game of 2021 for Stadia? I mean, there's so many solid games, but if there's one that absolutely stuck out for me, had to be Far Cry 6. Stream Connect was really awesome on this. One of the ones where I got to meet a good friend in person and we got to play together. And the game itself is just awesome and a ton of fun. So my favorite game of 2021 for Stadia is Far Cry 6 without a doubt.
Well, there we go. Interesting. Another vote there for Far Cry 6. So the question is, will the community agree? We're going to have to wait a little bit longer, ladies and gentlemen, before we reveal, the Stadia Game of the Year, as voted by you, the community. Before that, this next category is an interesting category, as it's all about those unique Stadia features, something that sets Stadia apart. You've got things like crowd choice, crowd play, touch controls, state share, screen connect. So which game ultimately, there we go, which game made the best use of these features? Yes, it's the best use of unique Stadia feature 2021. Purple Haze in there. Arigato gozaimasu, Purple Haze. Thank you for that. Okay, John, what's your thoughts on the games with the unique features before we reveal the finalists and the winner?
Well, as you mentioned, these unique features are what set Stadia apart from other platforms, and I totally love them because each of these features has been used in unique and different ways. And it's just so amazing, from the crowd choice to having the people watching you help decide what's going to happen next to you in a game, crowd play where they can just jump in, the touch controls, state share, stream connect. All of those are fantastic. It is really hard to choose what my favorite unique Stadia feature is.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's find out what the Stadia game best implemented these features with the best use of unique Stadia feature 2021. Okay, so there we go. Best unique feature in a Stadia game there, 2021, and it was Humankind with touch controls. I think that appeals a lot to people who play their games on, tablets and on phones and stuff like that. And a game like this, where you sort of, dragging stuff across to the, a piece of land or whatever it is you do in Humankind. You can tell he plays it, can't you? But you know what I mean. I can see why that got a lot of love. Although Stream Connect, I guess maybe we're taking it for granted. Just behind the scenes, John and I were having a little argument there about which we thought, didn't we? You were saying Stream Connect and Hitman, weren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, I think, it makes sense here with the touch controls from Humankind. Like you said, like this is a lot of people play on mobile. They are just, out and about, have their phone there, just take it out of their pocket and can easily get into the game. And when the game's designed specifically for that touch screen there, it just makes it that much more enjoyable and easier.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if more games come with touch control. Obviously, that's what we're hoping for, ladies and gentlemen. Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody else, it's time, people. It's time for the big one. Stadia Game of the Year 2021, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. This is what this has all been about. I'll check in with the poll, but we don't have a poll. So, but there's been a lot of love for Far Cry 6, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A few shout outs for Young Souls. Far Cry 6 got a couple of mention by both Sonny and Lloyd. There as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see which one comes on top. Ray, I tell you, keeps spamming Far Cry 6. Resident Evil 6. Oh, MM2K.
Woohoo!
Thank you, MM2K there, coming with the super chat. Great show, guys. Yes, it is. When the community comes together like this, and we're going to do more things like this. It just goes to show what's possible. Here. We're loving that. Absolutely agree with that. Right. So in terms of the official vote, as I say, we've heard from the content creator community, we've heard from chat and stuff like that. But in terms of the official vote, there are so many games to choose from because we put them all in there. We didn't select a handful of games. We put them all in there so the community could just vote for the ones they wanted, and whatever was voted the most, full on, democracy there, rose to the top. So I think it's time for one last visit. Oh my God, I'm dreading this now. The state he's in. Don't know how many glasses of champagne he's had already, and it's only breakfast time. One last visit, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nerd Report. I am getting worried about Jack. I hope he survived to the end of the show here, because this is the important bit. Anyway, one last trip to the Nerd Report to get the feedback on how the voting went generally on Stadia Game of the Year 2021. Over to Jack in the Nerd Report.
Are you listening?
Welcome to another segment of the Nerd Report. It's Game of the Year time. Let's look at how the votes broke down. The first place winner came in at around 15% of the vote. Second place garnered an impressive 11% of the vote. It takes 8 games to cover 50% of the vote, with the remaining 40 games that got votes covering the remaining 50% of the vote. That's right. No less than 48 games received votes for Game of the Year, with Stadian's choices being as diverse as the community itself. And yes, Peppa Pig did receive votes. Toddlers represent! Back to you, Clive and John, to present the top games.
Best game is Lucky Spirit Adventure.
I think, Jack is there saying I'm sloshed.
Yeah.
I'm
already this early.
I think Sonny's a bit sloshed as well. He's calling it now. He's Lucky Spirit of Adventure. He's calling it, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, let's get on with it. The chat's absolutely on fire there. Let's do this, yeah, John. Let's do this now. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen, for Stadia Game of the Year? Who made the final four? And which games will have to grin politely as the camera zooms in on them as the winner climbs the steps to claim their prize? It's the one you've all been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Stadia Game of the Year. Let's see how you lot voted. Let's go. And the winner is Peppa Pig. No, it's Resident Evil Village. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Resident Evil Village. I must admit, this game, they delivered it onto Stadia. You know, we had the demo, we had Resident Evil 7 as the pro title. It looked and played amazing on Stadia. It's a massive franchise. It played really, really well. I loved the game, you know, in the way that you do for a game like that. What did you think, John? Do you think it's a worthy winner?
Yeah, it's definitely a worthy winner. I loved like Resident Evil Village when it was first announced. We know like last year we had a leak that, you know, there were some Capcom games coming to Stadia. And then when Resident Evil Village in early 2021 was announced, there was no Stadia logo. Everyone went nuts. But the second unveiling of it, then we saw Resident Evil Village coming to Stadia, and we got Resident Evil 7 on Pro. And then, you know, like you mentioned here, we got the demo, we got to the launch at midnight. Fantastic game. Kudos to the team at Stadia for getting this game in the franchise on Stadia, and Capcom as well. Fantastic job. Looks, runs great, and is an awesome game.
Yeah, and interesting enough, I see Wavetail was in those finals there, and it featured in 3 categories. Wavetail, of course, taking home away indie game of the year. Far Cry 6 featured in 3 categories, taking away action adventure game of the year. So real diverse chance. But there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Resident Evil Village. As I say, it's probably one of my favorite games. And I was just thinking about back to then the moment of its launch and around that. That's such a big moment, one of the biggest moments of the year, I think, for Stadia. And it's one of the few games I've actually managed to play all the way through, which is something increasingly hard to do with all the new Stadia games and the Stadia Pro games. They just keep a coming, you know. And I love the design of it. I mean, yeah, look, let's be honest. There were some messed up, freaky bits in that damn game. But I mean, really horrific. But it looked amazing. You know, and here's to more Capcom games coming to Stadia if they look that good.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out Stoked for Good. Gave you a super sticker in the chat there.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we like.
Yeah. I mean, you can easily say that there is such a wide variety of games on Stadia, different genres, indie, sports, action, adventure, all the way up to the AAA titles. And it's just great to see that we have such a variety of games. And, you know, really looking forward to 2022. And we got another super sticker in the chat here from Mark.
Yes, thank you. Shout out for Mark. I'm sure that's going to kick in any minute now. Let's see what chat thinks. Did your favorite game? There we are, Mark. Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, thank you. Really, really appreciate. Whoop, 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 whoop. Yeah. So let's see, chat generally. Let us know. I know there was a lot of love for Far Cry 6 in the chat.
Yeah.
You mentioned it and
Yep.
all of that. Are you happy? Do you think Resident Evil Village is a good choice, a worthy winner, and all of that? Let us know in the chat right now. It's good to see so many people in the chat interacting. Woo!
Oh my gosh. Look at that. It's blowing up here now. Oh,
Yeah.
you're not even going to be able to keep up with it. Look at this.
Sunny Cloud. Oh, wow. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, from Lox. Thank you. Shout out to Lox3M as well. Or is that maybe just Loxum? And you just used a 3. Oh, Wolfson. Thank you, sir. Yep. Really appreciate it. Much appreciated. Wow, they're coming thick and fast.
Yeah, they sure are. And look at that.
Right.
Consigno with his innovative $20.22 for 2022.
2022.
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Right.
This is so, Clyde, this is so awesome. This is why I love the Stadia community so much. You know, everybody comes together and we can celebrate the games. It's just a fantastic community. Big shout out to everybody in the chat there and all the support that you've given. And kudos to you, Clyde, as well, for putting, you know, this together with such a fantastic production value. One of a kind. Hats off to you for this. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you. And thank you, chat, for turning up and watching it live. It really, whenever we do a show live, it really helps with the buzz. I get the buzz, man. I get the buzz when chat is bubbling. So really appreciate it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, wow, Purple Haze.
Wow.
Much appreciated, Purple Haze. Becoming a member there. Well, there you go, folks. It's a wrap. That was the Stadia Community Awards 2021. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the show. Special thanks to Jack the Slip for his nerd reports. Rob from Bloody Good Reviews. Lloyd, Bill, Bryant, State of Stadia Germany. Cryman Stadia from Spain. And of course, Sonny. And my wonderful co-host. I couldn't have done this without him, John Scar. Thank you so much, John, for being here tonight with me, supporting me, co-hosting the show. Really appreciate you being here. It's really kind of helped the show. And all the behind the... Oh!
Look at that.
Yeah. Kumna! Thank you, Kumna.
Yeah, he's got a 1, 2, 3, 4 there. That's great too.
Wow,
see?
Brilliant.
Yeah,
loving that. And a big shout out to MM2K for behind the scenes efforts as well. Really appreciate it. This has been a team effort. And I really appreciate everybody who got involved. Thank you guys for voting and stuff. Here is to an even more fabulous 2022 on Stadia, more fabulous games in 2022. It's goodbye from me, Clive Illenden, and
it's a goodbye for me. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year's. Thank you for watching.
We'll be right back.